Alright, everybody, today we are told to find the domain and the solution set for the following equation. Square root of x plus 28 plus 2 equal to x. Solution. Let's write out this equation again. Root of x plus 28 plus 2 equal to x. Whenever I see this kind of question, especially questions that have square roots, the first thing I do is I pause. I ask myself one question. What values am I allowed to use? And that is what domain is telling us. What values of x am I allowed to use in this whole of this equation, not just the radical? So what do? This equation has a square root. And we know that a square root represents real number. Therefore, to find the domain, the expression inside the root must satisfy x plus 28. This should be greater or equal to 0. Solving this, we will subtract 28 from both sides of the inequality. Greater or equal to 0 minus 28. From here, x will now be 28 minus 28 is 0. This is plus 0. Greater or equal to 0 minus 28 is what? Negative 28. Therefore, our x should be greater or equal to negative 28. Note, I want you to observe something. At this point, our domain for this radical only is x greater or equal to negative 28. But the question is asking us to find the domain and the solution set of the equation and not just the radical only. Not just the radical. So therefore, our domain should extend further. We'll add 2. Stopping at x greater or equal to negative 28 would be correct if the question were about radicals by itself. The question is about finding the domain of the entire equation. To find the domain of the equation, we will look at the equation, which is, let's rewrite the equation, x plus 28 plus 2 equal to x. We said that for this radical, root of x plus 28 is always greater or equal to 0. Therefore, we can say the root of x plus 28 plus 2 should also be greater or equal to 2. This means that the right side x must also be at least 2. At least 2. At most greater than 2. So now we have a stronger conviction that our domain for the entire equation should be x greater or equal to 2. So the solution set of x that we are going to get for this question should fall from values that are between 2 to infinity. So our domain is x equal to, let's call our domain D, which should fall between the values of 2 to infinity. Our solution set should fall within this. The next thing we need to do is now to solve the equation properly. So let's bring down our original equation. This is our original equation. Let's bring it down. Let's write it for clarity's sake. X, root of x plus 28 plus 2 equal to x. In order to remove this square root, we need to square both sides. But we can't do this squaring when we have another number attached to this square root. So it will be more complex to solve. Therefore, we need to isolate only this square root. What do? We what? Remove 2 from both sides. We'll subtract 2 from both sides. This will now be root of x plus 28 plus 2 minus 2 equal to x minus 2. This will now give us root of x plus 28. This will cancel out, equal to x minus 2. Here we can now square both sides in order to remove the square root. This will be x plus 28 all squared is equal to x minus 2 all squared. The square will cancel out the square root. This will now be x plus 28 equal to x minus 2 squared. We will need to expand the right hand side. This will give us x plus 28 is equal to x minus 2 times x minus 2. X plus 28 is equal to x times x is x squared. X times 2 is minus 2x. That is x times minus 2x. We now use the second number to multiply. Negative 2 times x. This is negative 2x. 2 also will multiply this 2. 2 times 2 is 4. But this 2 has a minus sign in front of them. Minus times minus should be plus. This positive 4. We'll continue. X plus 28 is equal to x squared minus negative 2x minus 2x is what? Negative 4x plus 4. We'll collect like terms. Let's move everything here to the right hand side. This should be x squared minus 4x plus 4. When positive x cross the equality sign, it becomes negative. Therefore, this will now be minus x. When positive 28 crosses over to the other side, it becomes negative 28. So this is minus 28, all equal to 0. Let's keep solving. X squared minus 4. Let's collect like terms. Minus x plus 4 minus 28 equal to 0. Let's simplify this further. This is x squared minus negative 4x minus x is negative 5x. 4 minus 28 is negative 24 equal to 0. Our equation now is of quadratic form. We can either use quadratic formula method, completing the square method, or if the numbers are nice, we can choose to use factoring method. Now I prefer to use factoring method because it's faster. To use factoring method because it is the simplest method. In factoring method, we ask ourselves 2 questions. 1. What 2 numbers do we multiply to give us negative 24? And when we add that same 2 numbers, we'll get negative 5. Funny, right? So we said 2 numbers that when we multiply, we'll get negative 24. That is, what do I mean? Assuming the numbers are A and B, we'll say when we multiply A and B, we should be able to get negative 24. And when we add, we should get negative 5. That is also when we add the 2 numbers A plus B, we should get negative 5. We know that 1 times 24 is equal to 24. Negative 1 times negative 24 is equal to what? 24. Negative 1 times 24 is equal to negative 24. 8 times 3 is 24. Negative 8 times negative 3 is still 24. We are looking for two numbers, but negative 8 times 3 is equal to negative 24. Since we've seen the factors that when we multiply will give us negative 24, let's now add and see the one that will give us negative 5. 1 plus 24 will not give us negative 5, so this will not satisfy our equation. Negative 1 plus negative 24 will still not give us negative 5, so we'll rule out this. Negative 1 plus 24 will not give us negative 5. 8 plus 3, this will rule out. Negative 8 plus negative 3 is negative 11 and not 5. Negative 5, we'll rule it out. Negative 8 plus negative 8 plus 3 will give us negative 5. So the two factors that we are looking for is what? Our A equal to negative 8 and our B equal to 3. So therefore, in solving this equation, let's bring it down. X squared minus 5x minus 24 equal to 0. Using factoring method, we'll open two brackets. We'll put our x in one and another x in the second one. Then we'll now put those two factors that we found, which is what? Negative 8 and positive 3. All should be equal to 0. So we can say is either that x minus 8 is equal to 0 or x plus 3 is equal to 0. If we should solve this, x minus 8 equal to 0, we'll add 8 from both sides of the equation to isolate our x equal to 0 plus 8. This will now give us x because negative 8 plus 8 will cancel out equal to 8. If we should solve this also, we'll need to remove 3 from both sides. X plus 3 minus 3 equal to 0 minus 3. 3 will cancel out. X will now be negative 3. Remember we said that our domain D falls under numbers that are above 2 to infinity. And we said that it will not be negative. Therefore, our solution set is x equal to 8. Let us check. From our original equation, we have that root of x plus 28 plus 2 is equal to x. We said that our solution for x is 8. Let's substitute x into this equation and see if we will get 8. This will now be 8 plus 28 plus 2 equal to 8. 28 plus 8 is 36. Root of 36 plus 2. Will this give us 8? Let's find out. Square root of 36 is 6 plus 2 equal to 8. 6 plus 2 is 8 equal to 8. Therefore, our final answer to this question is that our domain is x greater or equal to 2, while our solution set is 8. If you're interested in this kind of content, kindly click on the subscription button, the notification bell, so that you will be notified when the next episode drops. We love math and you should love math too. See you on the next one.